The following is a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio. Keep your mission on your mind and your mind on your mission. This is Mission Minded with Michael Coleman.
Welcome back to another Mission Minded. Keep your mind, your mission your mind. He is adjusting his television screen so he can look really good. Michael Coleman, of course, he is the CEO of the Heart of Alabama Food Bank. Does fantastic work down there, 35 counties in the great state of Alabama. We got some emails, info at TonyCurryRadio.net, info at TonyCurryRadio.net. And we'd be remiss not to mention that we're going to be starting a brand new show with the same title called Mission Minded. And it's going to have an undercurrent of Christianity in it. We're really looking forward to that coming up in March on 101.1, The Truth, which is perfect for Michael and myself. The Truth. Two guys speaking the truth. We're looking forward to
at least the truth as we see it. Let's put it that way.
Exactly. Someone told me today, like, you need to write a book. And I said, because I do have some pretty good stories, and I don't know if I'd let my kids read it. But I think the front page would have to be the stories inside this book are stories the way I remember them to be. Yeah. I'm not saying they're true. I'm just saying this is the way I remember these stories. Yeah. So if you want to call me out on it, this is the way I remember, because at the age of 60, things are starting. But the stories have embellished themselves over the years.
That's
and,
right.
and of course, that's what sells books. Hey, real quick, we are in the midst of this snow again thing. That's not going to really affect you guys as much down in Montgomery, Birmingham, not so much. But the northern third of the state's going to be getting hit, and of course, it goes from all the way from New Mexico to New England. 170 million people being affected by the snow and the ice and everything else. I wanted to ask you, with the Heart of Alabama Food Bank, how does that affect you and your business? How does it affect your trucks, your traffic? How do you get out to the rural areas? What do you do when you have issues like this? Because people got to eat.
Yeah. So I will tell you right now, across the whole network. Now, I'm not involved in. We're involved in the Alabama discussions, but it's happening in every state. We start tracking it when we know the weather, getting weather advisories. We know that power could go out. Cities might need the water supply can get affected. There's just all sorts of things that can happen. We've had counties that call us and say, "Hey, flooding has caused this problem. We don't have any fresh water in the county, so we'll take truckloads of water to any kind of emergency response that we need to." And we're always tracking it. And if there's a need, it could be, normally it's not something like winter storms, but like a tornado, hurricane, those kind of events. Although this could turn into, you just never know what happens. But yeah, there's already coordination behind the scenes. So there's volunteers across the state connected with the emergency management agency, and food banks are in that loop. And so we're all tracking it, and we're all ready to respond. All that happens is somebody reports it into the network, and then all our systems kick in, and we meet that need.
That's pretty amazing. That's great stuff, and it's good to know. And I mean, they've been predicting this since Tuesday. So that's the one thing. It's funny because everyone kind of jokes that they can't tell us what the temperatures are going to be tomorrow, yet they're predicting snow 3 days out. But I've got friends of mine that we're just on that rim, though. They're right there because we have the warm air coming from the south, we have the cold air coming from the north, and we're always right there on that line. And we were 30 miles one way, 30 miles another. And again, it hasn't happened yet. I had Bruce Ayers, my good friend, did a show with him the other day. He sold the Comedy Club Stardom, and he took me back to March 12th, 1993, when we were expecting a dusting of snow, and we got 17 inches of the crap in Homewood, and no one saw it coming. It was the big miss, but it was just amazing, and it just sat on top of us. It was almost like a lake effect snow.
Was that the big one that James Spann missed and had to eat crow on that for many years?
Could have been. Yeah, could have been. Yeah, I think there was.
He refers to one or two incidences like that, so he's pretty humble about it.
Well, and he's. What an amazing guy.
He's such a good guy.
And he, when someone loses their life, it's almost like he loses his brother. Like he takes he takes that personally. Sure. Like I was responsible for not letting this person know that the weather's going to be
Yeah.
so bad, and then people did lose their life
Well,
during
that's he
during the
cares that
storm.
much, and that's what makes him
Yeah,
a
absolutely.
great community member. Yeah.
Info at TonyCurryRadio.net, info at TonyCurryRadio.net. He's Michael Coleman. I'm Tony Curry. Mission minded. Keep your mind your mission your mind. This is I want to get some emails here, and we do get quite a bit of them. Info at TonyCurryRadio.net. But I thought this was, and I saw this. I'm glad I looked because it's very, very time sensitive. And you and I spoke about the ice situation and some of the stuff going on up in Minnesota in our previous
Yeah.
shows. Evidently, many people are now saying enough's enough. Hundreds, if not thousands, of Minnesota businesses are taking a stand against ICE and closing their businesses today as a protest to ICE. And we've had several people say, what exactly does a protest of that magnitude and closing down businesses, what does that do to further a cause in this particular case of obviously people that don't like to have ICE people in their streets? What does it do to close everything down?
Yeah. So to me, it's when I look at it, it will. So what I saw on the news was it's mostly a Somali business, but others, I think they're inviting other businesses in the community to join. And to me, when a business shuts down, then they're not generating sales tax revenue that's going to go to their county, their state, and their local officials. So it is a way, and now, of course, it hurts the business owner, but
Oh,
some people may say, while I do not agree in this particular issue um, that ICE is the bad person here. Um, just looking at shutting down the economy is a way to apply pressure to government officials either to stand strong or to continue to push back. The truth of the matter is, as I said, I may have even said it last week. Um, they are there. ICE is there, and I'm not saying every individual ICE agent has been perfect and flawless. And I know there's a lot of sensitivity. The reality is, Minneapolis is a sanctuary city. And as a result, they are not following federal law. Federal law says they're supposed to report when people come into their court systems and everything else, but they have had people who have molested children, people who've committed murder, armed robbery, any offense you can come up with, sexual molestation, rape, they have not cooperated and released them back into their own communities, which doesn't make sense. But they are not following because they just declared, just like, it's against the law to smoke marijuana. It's a federal crime.
yeah.
But states just all of a sudden said, well, we're declaring it legal. Uh, so the problem is now with all these, you have illegals, such as in a lot of these blue states, that are getting their uh, uh, hospital care, and Medicaid dollars pay for that. So they're not signing up people for Medicare directly as an illegal. But what happens is they're funding hospitals with Medicare dollars to take indigent people, Medicaid, I said Medicare,
Yeah.
Medicaid dollars. And so it's an indirect way. Well, then you also see abuses in the system, such has been very clear. A lot of illegals in the small community are getting millions of dollars. They are offering free education. Virginia's governor just restated this, like we're gonna support our undocumented workers, and I'm directing that no longer will our local people support federal officers. So they're pitting officers against each other, or federal. And the reality is, our nation is founded on the rule of law, and the rule of law is the federal government overrides any state law,
Mhm.
period. You cannot. So this whole thing about we're establishing it, and so the Somali community, which is sizable in Minneapolis, and what businesses they have, they are putting pressure on the government to stand up. But you have to ask yourself why. What is the righteous indignation about? Well, for years, for up to a decade, they've been siphoning funds into that community and to the tune of billions of dollars over that time. Although it appears that their attorney general is aware of it, their governor's aware of it, the mayor's aware of it, but they have allowed it to happen. And so they don't want people in their communities taking people out. They don't want to light shown on their operations, but it's happening. And the truth of the matter is, you have people on this particular issue who are just completely at odds and are pitting people against each other, and they're endangering um, our to me, our ICE agents. Again, I'm not even talking about the shooting with the ICE agent, but I'm talking about the danger that it's over 1,000% of attacks and assaults on ICE officers by these protesters. And that's not protesting. You are free to protest. You have freedom of speech. It's a federal crime to interfere with a government police action. And I just saw a video that just came up on Reels, and it was somebody who went up to an ICE officer and stuck their phone in their face, and they're whistling. And this guy had a heavy Hispanic accent. The ICE agent did. And he goes, ma'am, I'm going to say this one time. I can't do it in a Hispanic accent, and she's like, I can't understand you. You're speaking Spanish. He's no, ma'am. I'm trying to tell you, this is your first and last warning that we're in the middle of an operation. He's very calm. He was very polite. We're in the middle of an operation, and you're whistling right now, and you're alerting people in this building. These are criminals that are here that have done some horrific things. You're interfering with this. It is a crime, and if you do not stop, you're going to be arrested. And people become outraged at that. And I'm sitting here going, wait a minute. Why? What is your foundation for doing that? And so right now, this is another leverage and another act to try to leverage power and influence to show, because the government knows that every day they're shut down, they're going to lose that tax revenue, sales tax revenue. And that just puts pressure on them to act. But the bottom line is, it's a nowhere scenario to push back against the federal government if the federal government's going to enforce it. When they came out and said, we're going to legalize marijuana, the Biden administration said, I think it was even before that. It goes all the way before Trump, I think, all the way back to Obama.
Yeah.
They said, well, we're not going to enforce the law. So the federal law was still on the books, and California and Colorado and those states said, well, we're going to legalize it. Well, that's fine if the attorney general doesn't bring suit against the states for it. Yeah. So it's been legalized. It's the same thing. But the difference here is billions of dollars of corruption. It's very obvious. And Trump is saying, whether you like Trump, this is not a pro-Trump statement, but the federal government is standing on complete legal ground to be able to go into any community and remove illegal documented people. And by the way, that they've already shown are on many voter rolls. And so there's a real concern that our elections are corrupt because you have undocumented. I don't know, I'm kind of shifting on you just a little bit. In Atlanta a few weeks ago, they discovered 315,000 false votes in Fulton County alone back in the 2020 election. Biden got 81 million votes, which was 15 million more than anybody's ever gotten before.
Yeah.
But Fulton County alone, because where they were taken was and this issue is before the Supreme Court right now, they were taking ballots that were mailed in that they were counting. They would receive them 5, 6, 7 days after the election. And they were like, well, we're going to count them. And now they've gone back, and it's over 300,000 votes that should not have been counted just in Fulton County alone, Atlanta. So, said all that to say, I don't understand. I do understand what they're trying to accomplish, I don't think what they're trying to do follows the rule of law, and I think continued action that's going to continue to pit um, agents and federal officials against state officials.
I,
Mr.
well,
Wilson?
I'll say this, and you'll take your emails, info@TonyCurryRadio.net. I'm glad that ICE isn't here. And I mean that way, where I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he's like, well, the fact that ICE isn't here means that you guys must be doing pretty well. Well, Birmingham's always had a high crime rate. It's down, but
Yeah,
it's down across, it's 30 down. Everything's down 30% across the country, period. Okay. And it works together. It does. And
yeah,
that's wonderful news. I have two children who are Latino.
yeah,
One of them does not have an identification because he's got a mental illness.
yeah,
I have to take him down there. He won't be able to drive. He's legally blind. And I'll be honest with you, if I lived in a democratic state, but then again, I probably wouldn't live in a sanctuary city. I don't think that's right either. It would freak me out a little bit.
yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. So I mean, I get
Well,
that.
here's the thing that I don't think is happening. What they're saying is and I listen to the other side because sometimes there are valid, I feel like there are valid points, so I try to stay
Sure.
open-minded.
Mhm.
But what ICE has done is because they've said, well, you said you were going after the criminals, and now you're getting people that aren't criminals. You're getting people who are just illegal, and they try to make a distinction. They try to say, well, that's a civil offense, not a criminal offense. Absolutely not true. It is a criminal. It is a federal law that's being violated to come in our country undocumented. But that's not the point. The point is Tom Holman has said repeatedly that they go into areas looking specifically for people who are criminals.
Mhm.
Now, sometimes and have warrants and whatever. So they go in and they get that. Now, if they're in there and there's three other people in that room and they're undocumented where they don't have a warrant, but they're
Yeah.
going to be picked up as well.
Sure. Yeah.
But they're not just going house to house. Like your child would never be left alone out in public.
Sure.
It would always be with you.
Mhm.
So that scenario wouldn't be a realistic scenario that ICE is going to interfere with your son
Yeah.
because he's not going to be off with a group of criminals. He's going to be with somebody who can clearly identify him and you have adoption paperwork and everything
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't be blowing a
uh
whistle either.
yeah, exactly. You're not going out protesting and provoking
Yeah.
those kind of actions.
Well,
So
I work. I have things to do. I have a
right.
family to feed, and I have a job, and I have to make money. I wish I had 12 hours a day to go blow a whistle in some dude's face all day long. It must be a pretty good paying job, is what that is.
I know it.
Info at TonyCurryRadio.net. Info at TonyCurryRadio.net. Interesting email here from Ralph in Montgomery, down your neck of the woods. Ralph says, I started my own business when I was 18 years old. I'm 53 now, I'm ready to retire. It's a mom and pop, it's a pharmaceutical company. I have two beautiful children. One's 23 and one's 24, and I wish them the best. But I do not want to leave my company to my children. Um, he's like, I've made a good living. I've worked my ass off. I want to sell it
Yeah.
and I want to use the money for myself. And he's like, there is this underwriting current through our family right now that our children think since I'm going to retire that they're going to be left either the business itself to run the business. And I don't know what these 23 and 24-year olds, I'm thinking they must have already have a job unless they're still living in the basement. He said, but I do not want to leave my business. First of all, they can't run the business, but so I guess he's asking what should we do as parents? I get it. There's some things where, some people get in the business. My dad had a newspaper business, and if I wanted to run that business, he probably wouldn't have let me do it because he knew that I was beyond that. I could do something better than
Yeah.
that. He's like, you're not driving a truck for a living. I won't
Yeah.
allow that. I know you're better than that.
Yeah.
But it was something my dad had to do, and he did it for 40 years, and he took care of his family doing it. Um, But yeah, I could certainly see, unless that 23 or 24-year-old is actually, and that's as far as the email goes. So I don't know what the
What
specifics are.
circumstances are, yeah.
But I mean, are they working at are they working at the pharmacy? I mean, have they been part of the
Yeah.
business before? I don't know these things. I would think that if your children were working in a family business, but let's back it up a little bit. Um, let's say you do have a business and you can hire some people and you do want to try to keep it in the family. Some kids want to work for mom and pops. Some kids don't want to work for mom and pops. Some kids don't have a say in the action. They're working for mom and
Yeah.
pops. It is. But talk a
Yeah.
little bit about that. And thank goodness he's obviously done well enough that he can retire.
Well, and I think what he's saying is first of all, they're not capable of running the business.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
And then so the idea is, okay, so the business, he's worked his tail off for 35, 40 years.
Mhm.
So he's saying, yeah, I've built up equity in this company. And of course, you could just end it, but if it's got value, he's going to sell it. And whatever that brings in, the question then becomes, what obligation does he have to his children? And I have a couple of thoughts on this, and that is, we live in it's a middle class um, value, if you will. I've seen it way more than not, where people go, yeah, I've got to make sure that I um, save plenty to give to my kids and all that. And it's kind of a norm in the middle upper class and wealth class that you're able to when you pass away, you're able to pass assets down and continue building wealth for your family.
Mhm.
And I've seen people spend their whole life doing without, don't do anything because they're so worried about, leaving every penny to their child. The truth of the matter is that there is no ethical obligation. So if I were sitting here talking to Ray, I said, Ray, you do not have an ethical obligation to leave your children one dime because you've raised them, and like you said, they're adults now. They should be self-sufficient. Now, is it nice? My plan is if I have anything, I want to give my kids stuff while I'm still alive. I want to die without a dime left. So I want to be able to make an impact and enjoy that with them and do something. But this idea that he owes them something or owes them the passing down of the business or anything else, I don't agree with it all. I think the exceptions would be, like you talked about, Tony, if you had a special needs child
Sure. Yeah.
um, and that could not take care of themselves, you have an ethical obligation to make arrangements for their care. Um, it is certainly a nice thing that parents think about their children, how to ease some of the burden off of their children. And I'll just kind of throw this in. I've seen it because I've worked with the poverty culture for so long. This is one of the things that you see in poverty versus middle class. Middle class death tends to bring, we have a life insurance, we have um, house ownership, those kind of things. So the equity in the house, even if the house is still you owe money on it, your parents owe money on it, they pass away, they give it to you, you can sell it, but you get the equity out of it. And so that's the norm in the middle class. The poverty class is lots of times it just adds burden. Death adds financial burden. There's lots of people who the parent goes to the funeral home,
Mhm.
and then that person may not get buried for months
Yeah, I know, right?
because the family has to raise the money to be able to bury him because they don't take insurance. I mean, they don't keep insurance. So from an ethical obligation, it doesn't sound like Ray owes anything. Anything that he gives, he could put any stipulation on it he wants to. That is his money to do with what he wants. And if he says, this is my future, like if I'm 55 years old and I'm going to retire early because I built it, well, he's got to think about what if he lives 30 more years? He's got to have money to take care of himself. So that's what that money's for. If he gives anything, he's certainly free to do with it what he wants to, but I certainly wouldn't feel guilty or you
Yeah,
know.
I think I do. I told my dad, spend everything you got, take it with you. I don't want anything. And my dad threw newspapers his entire life. And by the time we sold the house,
Yeah.
everything, I made like $60,000, $70,000. It was nice. It was a blessing. I mean, I didn't even
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
I didn't even think about that. And because most parents, at least in our generation, they the 30-year mortgage, they end up owning the house, and so they're going to sell that or you're going to take it over, and so
Yeah.
you're going to get something out of it. But it would be maybe depending on what this business is, and again, I don't know what he's got to retire on. But maybe you could say, listen, I've had a great life, and I remember you guys coming in and buying lollipops at the store when you were 3 years old, and kind of like pull the wool a little bit, and maybe give them a grand each. Just say, and here,
Well, as a part of as a pharmaceutical company, that's what he said he has.
yeah.
Um, I will
It
tell
sounds
you,
like a pharmacy actually. It said pharmaceutical, but it almost sounds like a mom because he said it was a mom and pops. So it sounds like maybe a
very, very
pharmacy.
well, yeah, it could be. But I will tell you this: when he started out, he's obviously a person with a great work ethic. He had a vision. He's worked his butt off. And if he's blessed enough to be able to turn around and sell it, yeah, I wouldn't. Now, I would say this: I would take the time to sit down and talk with your kids and try to help them understand, uh, help them think it's not help them understand it's not a rejection of them. Um, but I don't think that's a messed up perspective that you've poured your life into something. That's your retirement. My guess is for many, many years, I don't know where he is financially now, but for many, many years while he's building that business, there was no money to put in retirement,
Exactly. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
there's lots of people like that. And so
Yeah.
their retirement is that asset that they have, and that's what he's going to need to take care of himself.
There you go. Mac in Wetumpka said that he recently came into some inheritance, speaking of the devil,
Mhm.
of about $150,000 and wants to start his own business. He doesn't know what kind of business he wants to start yet, but he says he listens to the show every single week. He knew that you actually had a business that was a brick and mortar and then an
Yep.
online business. He wants to know
Right.
what was easier for you. Was it the brick and mortar or the online? And if I'm going to start a business, which way do I go? I mean, it sounds like online would be super good. I know there's a lot of successful people use Shopify and stuff like that. But then again, a lot of people like to show up at a place every Monday through Friday morning at 9 o'clock and open the doors. And I get that
Yeah.
too. But what would you say is the best way to go if you're sitting there 100? Again, it depends on what you're selling, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's absolutely some things that can't be done uh, online. So if you're doing a service, I'm just going to make this up. Let's say you're
Sure.
going to open up a tire center. Okay, you're going to have it where people come in, fix cars, whatever. Uh, but with us, we had it was a retail boutique. And COVID shut that down because we couldn't get the foot traffic. Now we had already begun to transition to an online, and that's something, but that was still problematic online because we would do shows like where we'd have people model the outfits,
Mhm.
things like that. We'd try to describe it, do all that we could, um, and we made it work until I sold it. Um, but it all depends on, and there's lots of factors that go into it. I think I would be so hesitant to invest a lot of money in brick and mortar. There's a lot of costs that lots of times people don't think about. So you've got insurance cost, you've got utilities. So not only when I say you've got property insurance, you've got insurance against your inventory.
Mhm.
And you've got the liability insurance because we live in such a litigious society that, I mean, so that's a lot of overhead right there, just like that. So I would recommend, if you have the ability, is to do it online because you have all sorts of flexibility. You take advantage of all the channels that have already been built, like the Shopify. But I'll also say this: if you are not somebody who is good on the internet, then you have to build in the fact that I've got to have somebody who can run this for me and do so effectively because it's so hard to even get your feet in the, get it going, to get your solid footing is what I'm
Sure.
trying to say. And if you have somebody that is running I'm just going to say a clothing store, you're going to have customers that comment. You're going to have customers with questions. You're going to have orders that have to be boxed and shipped out. And that's all a timeliness issue. That's a customer service ability, but also the technology when there's problems. You got to have somebody that can do that. And if he can do that and has those abilities, I'd say yes, absolutely, because you're the one. It's your baby when you start a business. You're the one who's passionate about it. You're the one who has a vision for it, and so you need to be as involved as possible. But don't try to do something online if that's not your skill set, unless you can hire somebody to come in and do it, because um, you will turn your customer base off.
Yeah.
Because nowadays, when we're used to Amazon, couple of clicks, if we have to, if it's cumbersome or we don't have good customer service, we just won't go back,
Yeah.
and he
Yeah,
won't be able to build his brand.
and home-based businesses obviously are a lot different now than they were 20 years ago. You didn't have a lot of home-based businesses, people selling stuff out of their garage. So that's another way to look at it too. If you do something online, create your business from your home, and then you get to write off a third of your house or
Yeah.
your electricity or whatever. You can actually work at an office, out of your, if you want to
Yeah.
utilize an office
And,
instead of a brick and mortar.
and I would tell you with Shopify, and I'm using Shopify, there's others, but when I was using Shopify, it allows you to add sales channels to your products. So you could do Facebook Marketplace, you could do Amazon, sell items Amazon, and all these others. And so what happens is you're putting stuff on your website, and it's going out nationwide. I mean,
Yeah.
we had people who were ordering from us clothing that were from Nebraska,
Yeah.
and just all over the United States. Now, so you can't do that with a brick and mortar. You've got to do an assessment and go, okay, whatever's going to be in my brick and mortar has to serve this community.
Mhm.
So does this community have a need for what I'm selling to the point that I can sell enough volume that I can pay all the overhead that goes with brick and mortar? And lots of times that's tough to do. You might have a
Yeah.
good product, but it may not be the right location. You may not have the people to be able to sell the volume.
150 grand in a brick and mortar doesn't sound like a whole lot either. I mean,
Yeah.
particularly if you're like, even if you're going to like do a franchise like with Jersey Mike's or something like that, they're going to ask you to have a couple $100,000 just in liquidity and in capital just to get started. I'm
Yeah.
not saying they're buying
Yeah.
into a franchise, but if this guy wanted to buy a hot,
Yeah.
I saw something, Nathan's Hot Dogs. Did you hear what happened yesterday? Nathan's Hot Dogs was built in 1895, I think it was, from a gentleman
Yeah.
named Nathan. I forget his last name. It was sold yesterday for
Was it to a Chinese company?
I believe it was
Yeah.
$450 million. And I'm thinking to myself, man, if that's not the American dream, I mean,
Yeah.
you started out as a hot dog stand, a hot
Yeah.
dog
That's right.
stand,
Yeah.
and then you go to having, your business on Boardwalk, and you're still slathering hot dogs with mustard all damn
Right,
long. I mean,
right.
this is beyond a Sneaky Pete's. And next thing you know, you're selling your hot dogs in stores and saying
Yeah.
$450 million. That is the way you run a business. That's pretty good
That's
stuff.
the beauty of America. If you have a
They-
dream and you work hard that's what can happen.
Working hard's the one part.
There's
You're
no
willing to-
shortcuts.
no, there's no shortcuts, and everyone's wanting to
None.
work the
Mm.
least amount to get the most out. I'm telling you, I'm here to tell you because I've been doing it the last 4 or 5 years, man. The harder you work, the more it comes out. You want to take some time. Oh, it's great having your own business. Yeah, well, you ain't gonna be eating but peanut butter jelly sandwiches for the next month if you
Yeah.
decide to go on vacation. So knock yourself
Right.
out. Mission Minded. To keep in mind, your mission in your mind coming soon. Of course, to 101.1 The Truth. We'll promote that, and we'll have websites up, and we all kinds of stuff. It's super exciting. I can't wait to get this thing off the ground with you. It's just it's off the ground. We're already flying, but we're just taking it to new heights, and that's
Yeah.
going to be super exciting. So great stuff.
Yeah.
Bite by Bite is next right here on Tony Curry Radio.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio.